been married to Johnny now for nearly 4 years, and we have a 4-month-old baby girl at home. So life has took a dramatic turn for us in the last couple of months. I was telling people she normally goes to bed early at 6 o'clock. Tonight I left at 6:45 and she had no notion of going to bed, so Johnny's having a fun night tonight. But it's good to be here, and thank you very much for the invite to come along. I work for an organisation called the Faith Mission. If any of you have heard of it before, it's a Christian charity that works throughout the UK and south of Ireland. And myself and Johnny are in charge of the young adult work. We are called FM Transition, FM standing for the Faith Mission, and transition because between the ages of about 16 to 30, you go through a lot of different transitions in life. So you move from GCSEs to A-levels to uni to work. Some people get married, and some people have a baby even before the time that they're 30 years old. So you go through all these different transitions, and each stage is a time that the devil can get in and just turn your life upside down. And that's not counting in illness and family change and things like that. So that's briefly what we do. If you go onto Facebook and Instagram, you can like and follow us, and there's a video there that goes into far more detail than I can tonight about what we do in our work. Now, do not tell me that you're too old for Facebook. My mum is on Facebook, and she is years old. So you are never too old for Facebook. So go on and like and follow us there, and you'll see what we do. But I didn't always work for the Faith Mission, and I wasn't always a Christian. I actually didn't become a Christian until I was 22. Just to save your ma's, I'm 33, just to get that out there. I know I look a lot younger, but I am 33. And I was born, whenever I was born, my parents worked for the Faith Mission. They were Christians already. My sister was already a Christian by the time I was born. And so I was raised in a very Christian, God-focused home. Any extracurricular Christian activities I was at Sunday school and GB and church and youth club and SU and camps and everything that you could possibly think of I was at. And that was my upbringing for years and years. And I always accepted it, and I knew the Bible stories off by heart. I could quote you Bible verses. I could tell you anything that you wanted to know about the Bible. But it was all up here knowledge, and I knew it all, but I didn't ever really believe it all for myself. And I remember whenever I was 14 years old, we moved here to Portadown. I lived here for 9 years, out the Mahon Road there. It was great. Michael's ice cream is the best ice cream in the world. But I lived here, and I started in Portadown College when I was 14. And I remember making a very conscious decision when I moved here that I was not going to follow what my parents had taught me anymore. I remember thinking, I'm in a new school, I can make new friends that don't believe what I've been taught, and I can make my own decisions and make my own mistakes and decide why I'm not allowed to do these things that I've been told not to do. And so when I was 14, I started to do things that I was always told you shouldn't. I got in with a group of friends who weren't Christians, and SU was at the lunchtime, so I was able to skip that without my parents knowing. They know now. But I was able to skip things like that, and I was able to do my own thing. And I drew a line in the sand for myself. I remember the first time I went out clubbing, I drew a line in the sand, and I said to myself, I'm going to go out for a dance, and that's it. I'm not going to do anything else. I love dancing. I still love dancing. Johnny frequently walks away from me in Tesco because I dance to the background music. I love dancing. And I was just wanting to go out for a bit of crack, as I'm sure a lot of people think clubbing is. And I drew that line for myself. But unknown to me, somebody else drew a line for me that day. Somebody else drew a line for my life and said that they were going to get me to a certain point. And it says in the Bible in John 10:10 that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And the thief there is referring to the devil. And he had a line in the sand for me that was to steal, kill, and destroy me. That was his plan for my life. And the moment that I turned my back on God and decided to go my own way, he drew that line and he said, I'm going to get you there. No matter what it takes, I'm going to steal, kill, and destroy your life. And he started that very night, and my dancing quickly turned into drinking, quickly turned into drugs, quickly turned into different relationships, quickly turned into clubbing almost every time I was out at uni. And I was doing all these things, and the devil was just sweeping me along, and I didn't even know it. I thought I was having a great time. I thought it was a ball, and I was loving life. But I didn't really see what was happening to my life, and my life was spinning out of control because I'd handed the control over to somebody else who was doing what he wanted with it. And so I went to uni up in Korean, studied nursing for 3 years. Nursing was what I wanted to do my whole life since I was 3 years old. There was a picture of me in a nurse's uniform and a wee doctor's case, and I used to operate on all my dolls, and they all died. But I loved nursing. It was what I wanted to do. And so I went to uni and I qualified and I got a job in Craigavon Hospital. And I was still clubbing. I was still doing what I wanted. I was still running away from God as fast as I could. And I moved in with my best friend. My parents moved away at that point, and I moved in with my best friend. And we were clubbing buddies, and we went out all the time, and we partied hard. And one day, she arrived home to me and she said, Amy, I've become a Christian. And I was like, oh no. And she was so excited about it, and something had changed in her. I knew her. I had been best friends with her at this point for about 4 years, and I knew her, and something had changed in her. And I couldn't place what it was. She just had a peace about her that I didn't know where she'd got it from. And she went to church all the time, and she didn't want to miss church. Before, it was a chore to go to church, and suddenly she wanted to go all the time, and she was reading her Bible, and she was telling me what she was reading in the Bible, and she was leaving me wee sticky notes all around the house of what the Bible said about this and what the Bible said about this. And I wasn't really paying that much attention to her, but I could tell that there was something had happened. And that was in the May. And in the June, she arrived home one day and she said, Amy, we're going to Edinburgh for the weekend. And I was like, yes, I've got my clubbing buddy back. And she said, no, we're going to a Christian weekend. And she said, I booked your plane ticket, I booked your accommodation, I booked everything for you. You're coming with me. And it's a Christian weekend where they do Bible teaching and they tell you about Jesus, and you're coming with me. And so I went along, and I managed to miss most of the meetings that were on that weekend, but the last meeting I went to with her, and I remember walking in, and I remember sitting down, and I was sitting beside a fire exit so that I could make a quick escape if I had to, but there was stairs up it, and I remember thinking, I'm not going to be able to get up those stairs, because I started to shake. From the moment I sat down, I started to shake from my head to my toes. And people around me could see me shaking. And all I could hear in my head was, you know I'm the way, come back to me. You know I'm the way, come back to me. And what had started out as fun clubbing and what the party lifestyle used to be wasn't fun anymore. And I remember drinking a bottle one night and looking, I finished it and just looked down the bottle and remember thinking to myself, is this all my life is ever going to be now? Is it just going to be empty? Is it just going to be meaningless? And I had got depressed, I had got anxious, I had got angry about things that had happened in my life up until that point, and I didn't know where to turn anymore. And this night, I just heard this voice, you know I'm the way, come back to me. You know I'm the way, come back to me, over and over again. And there's a verse in Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 4, and it says, But God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. But God, even though I didn't know where to turn, God was there. Even when I was at my wit's end, God was there. And God still loved me with a love that was so great that he wouldn't let me go. And he kept pursuing me, and he kept chasing me, and he kept hunting me down, even though I was trying to run away from him. And I know some of you here tonight, I don't know many of you, and I don't know where you are with God, and I don't know if you feel like God is chasing you down, but he is not going to stop until he gets a hold of you, because he loves you that much. And God loved me that much that he kept chasing me and kept hunting me down. And that night on the 8th of July 2007, I gave my life to God. And I remember I burst out crying, and I sat sobbing like a weirdo for about 15 minutes, just sobbing. I couldn't stop. And I remember so many people coming up to me and praying with me. And I'm an all or nothing type of girl, so I knew if I was going to become a Christian, it was going to be a all-in type of thing. And I remember texting all the bouncers of all the nightclubs that I went to that night and saying I wasn't coming back to your club because I'd become a Christian. And there was bets put on that night by the bouncers about how long I would stay out of the clubs. I think the longest was 2 weeks. And that was 11 years ago, and I still haven't been back in a club. But I went round all the clubs when I came home. I was so excited, and I told all the bouncers. And I remember this one bouncer I was really close to, and I gave him a Bible, and I said, you have to read this, you have to read this. And 3 weeks later, when I came back, he said he'd read it every night on his break, and he was starting to go to church because he was so interested in what the Bible said. I was just so excited about the change that had happened to me. And there's a verse in the Bible that says that God gives you a peace that passes understanding. And that's what I got that night, was a peace that passed understanding. I couldn't explain it, but everything in my life suddenly just made sense. And I had a purpose to live for, and I had something to get up for in the morning, and I had a reason to tell people to live and to keep going, was because God loved them so much. And I knew from then on that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And nursing was my passion, and nursing was what I always wanted to do. But God told me that he wanted me to leave nursing and to give my life over to him fully in full-time ministry. And so it was a big struggle now, I'm not going to lie. I really loved nursing, and it was a struggle to go in and hand my notice in. And I don't know if you are struggling with that at the moment. If God is telling you that he wants you to do something and you're just not sure how it's going to work out, you just don't want to give up things that you are holding on to. I just want to encourage you tonight, based on my story, that God is no man's debtor, and God will never let you down. And if you give up what he's asking you to give up, he will repay you over and over and over again. And I have been in full-time ministry now for 8 years. Yes, 8 years. I have worked with women in prostitution. I've worked with people who live on the streets in Edinburgh. I've worked with teenagers, and I've worked with young people, and I've worked with adults, and I've worked with older people. And there is nothing that I would give in exchange for seeing somebody get to know Jesus for themselves. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And it's the greatest honor to be asked by God to tell others about him, because it is just amazing to see God at work in people's lives. And so that's what we're doing now. We work with FM Transition, and we help young people to stay on track with God. We help them to see God in different situations that they're facing. And our young people are facing so many situations that are so hard nowadays, and it's just a joy and an honor to sit beside some of them and help them as they go through life's journey. And so we would really appreciate your prayers for that. We'd appreciate it if you could remember us every so often and pray for our work. And thank you so much for listening to us. And I just want to encourage you tonight, if you don't know Jesus, I really want to encourage you and offer him to you, because he really is the greatest friend and the greatest person that you could ever meet. And he loves you so much that he will never stop pursuing you. So thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to hand back to David. Thank you.